It's a great day in SimWorld, everybody. Good morning and welcome to SimWorld Today. I'm B. Ron Along. Coming back again in the co-host chair is Marsh. Good morning, man. How you doing? Good to see you. Glad I didn't scare you away. It was the first time you being here last time out.
Nah, hey, B-Ron, good to be back. Good to see you.
Hey, it's good to be here with you as well. And let's jump right into some things, shall we? Let's talk some World FL because we have a new coach over there in Los Angeles. Jim Harbaugh is making his return to the league. He'll be coaching the Chargers this time around. He has a pedigree, coaching in most recently Michigan, where they won the national championship, going undefeated over there. Despite the controversy over there, they ended up winning the title. Well, that's you can say something about that. But he did have prior history with the 49ers as well. Took them to a Super Bowl. They fell short to the Ravens. But that doesn't change the fact that, he's done this before. So what does this move mean for the Chargers and the organization? Can Jim charge the bolts here, as the topic header so clearly states? What do you think?
Look, I love the hire. Not only has this team underperformed for the last handful of seasons with Justin Herbert at the quarterback position, but they've been maybe one of the most talented rosters at the skill positions on both sides of the football that we've had in the NFL, and they've had massive disappointments on both sides, due in large part to the inefficiencies of their coaching staff. Most notably, I mean, I'm going to love it, but their 20-plus point blown lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs. This is a team that just has not been able to get it done. And I think bringing in a guy like Jim Harbaugh is not only a mature, established, proven coach, both at the collegiate level, but also at the NFL level. But it also is a massive culture hire. You go to a home Chargers game, and it's a road game. That team and that city has no connection to one another. Now, I'm not saying that the addition of Harbaugh suddenly is going to bring in all of these fans from Los Angeles. This is an organization that never should have left San Diego. They probably can't go back there. They most certainly won't be able to go back there from an NFL league mechanism perspective, but they
Yep.
actually have some semblance of an ability to build a culture and an identity. It's not always great to do that based off of a coach and not a player, like if you looked at Buffalo or Kansas City, but they have some semblance of a future now because of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, and I did too with the tone of the pedigree of Jim Harbaugh. That plays a factor in a lot of this stuff, especially when you look at someone like, say, Nick Saban, for instance, who came, successful in college, came to the NFL with the Dolphins, didn't work out there, and I think he was only there for a couple of years, if that. Um, and then left to go back to Alabama, and we know what he did at Alabama. He's retired now, but you Jim Harbaugh doesn't have that kind of negative attention, I guess, following him, so to speak, from a NFL perspective anyway. He's done this before and was successful at the NFL level. So it's not like he hasn't done this before. He knows what he's doing, clearly, and he's going to be able to get coaches around him to buy in, to believe in his system, whatever it is. And I think they're in good hands over there as far as that goes. But when it comes to the players in the field, I think that's a totally different thing. Because the, you know, we hear all the time in sports, something goes wrong. Most time the coach is going to take the blame, but the coaches can only coach. They put the players in position to make things happen. It's the players that are on the field to execute whatever the coach is giving them.
Yeah, this is I think maybe contentious, maybe controversial, but I think this is the last chance for Justin Herbert. And I know that's, like I said, a little dramatic, but he has been, ever since he entered the league, considered to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, most certainly one of the best young quarterbacks in the
Yeah.
NFL. He has not quite lived up to that, most specifically in that Jacksonville Jaguars playoff loss where they fall. You need to be able to build on a 20-plus point lead. You can't just assume it's good enough in the NFL to get you by.
Right.
But the calling card or the excuse has been, well, the roster around Justin Herbert and the coaching staff specifically, rather, around Justin Herbert, they don't live up to the billing. They haven't put him in the right positions to win. There's
Mhm.
no running from it now. If this doesn't work out, the finger pointing is not going to go to a head coach in Harbaugh who got the absolute best out of Colin Kaepernick when nobody else could. He is going
Right.
to be the best option for them at a head coaching position, but it also is now a no excuse game for Justin Herbert now and moving forward. That I think is monumental. We're going to figure out exactly who Justin Herbert is. And this is not me saying he's not a good quarterback, but if he continues to have the issues that he's had thus far in his career, then an inability or an ineffective season, that's going to be a finger pointing at him. And we're going to have to reevaluate really where does Justin Herbert stand in the upper echelon of high end talented quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, because Herbert, he has the talent. I think he's shown it over the past few seasons in the league, but it hasn't come together for him yet like we expected them to. You talk about the top, young quarterbacks in the league. Mahomes, Jackson, Herbert come to mind, Trevor Lawrence, 4. There's one more that I had that I can't. Josh Allen. Josh Allen's the other one. Who's they all come to mind. And then you look at other guys too. C.J. Stroud. His rise this year at the end of the season. Bryce Young potentially from Carolina with the Panthers. He might be in that conversation too at some point here. So regardless of what Herbert does in this situation, though, I do think that he'll find a spot somewhere, even if it's not with Los Angeles, because there are plenty of other teams who need quarterbacks, especially a young one who could have potential to play as well as Herbert does.
Look, it's not me saying that Justin Herbert's out of Los Angeles. I think you've got a
Right.
handful of years left of that, regardless of what happens. But this is a great hire because you actually have an adult at the wheel. You're not taking the swing on oh well he met with Sean McVay for 35 minutes and Sean McVay wrote a glowing
Yep.
letter of recommendation, so let's hire
Hmm.
him. You're getting a legitimate head coach that knows what to do for the leadership of an organization and a roster that, like I said, has some of the most talented players on both sides of the football, yet hasn't been able to put it together because the coaching has been doing a disservice to that skill set and to that talent level that they have. I think it's a win-win, and I think it actually will be a positive for Justin Herbert, obviously, by making him better. It's just that now I think the spotlight's just a little bit brighter, and for good reason.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of bright spotlights, Marsh, there was one in SimWorld Prep last night too, because we had that first game, the 7 o'clock game between Cascadia and the OGs, and that game lived up to the billing towards the end of it anyway. And we're gonna take a look at some highlights here from that game. Here is Tyshawn McGrady going to work with Cooper Flag saying, "No, get that out of here." After scoring 7 straight points for them, got to stop on defense. And Daniel Urban here in the second quarter. Q Dozier tried to set the screen, but decided not to, and it worked out in his favor because he caught the assist on the alley oop from Daniel Urban. Third quarter here, under a minute left. Cooper Flag said, "I'm gonna get one too," as he goes up and catches an alley oop there himself. Late in the fourth quarter, trying to cut that lead and make it a little bit closer. Tyshawn McGrady does just that. Kevon Jackson does just that, I should say. And, it wasn't enough. Wasn't enough, though. Cascadia falls second straight in a row, 81-77 to the OGs. And let's play a little game of true or false here, Marsh. It's time to panic for Cascadia. True or false?
False. False. This is still a really good basketball team. I'm not going to start getting too concerned about a back-to-back loss to
Yep.
two of the best teams in SimWorld Prep. I think you got to find the positives, and we said this after the game against Gulf Coast for Cascadia's. One loss doesn't make you no longer a legitimate favorite, or at least a legitimate contender. I think they still are. But look at the positives. You got a better performance from guys like Tyshawn McGrady and Daniel Irvin, both of whom really struggled, due in large part to the defense played by Gulf Coast, but both of them had awful games against Gulf Coast, and they still were close enough in that game thanks to Kevon Jackson to be able to win it. Against the
Mhm.
OGs, Kevon Jackson doesn't really show up, but this has been an OGs team that has been blowing just about everybody out of the water. Their two losses were examples of which teams kind of hung around. This was, I think, a great win for the OGs, but from a Cascadia perspective, the only cause for concern is you look at their three losses and they're all to great teams, but they're also all by single digits, and they've also beaten a lot of those great teams as well. So I'm not going to worry about them going to third loss because we like to pretend. I like to, who can go undefeated. No one's really going to go undefeated. And of course, Cascadia isn't going to go undefeated, but the fact that they are in all these games, that their players are bouncing back against difficult opponents, all of that's a positive. Despite the fact that they lost, I'm not suddenly just going to say the sky is falling, chicken little, call it quits, Cascadia's done.
Yeah, no, I'm not ready to say that either. It's not a concern for me yet. Sure, it's 2 losses in a row, yes, but these 2 losses, like you said, were to some of the top teams in SimWorld Prep, and we can't sit here and pretend that Cascadia isn't also in that conversation as well. They were 9 and 2 coming into the game. No, it's not like they were 2 and 9. This is a totally different situation. If they were to lose, a couple more in a row, then okay, sure, maybe we can start to talk about, hitting the panic button, that kind of thing. But right now, they're still very talented. They have the depth still. Nothing has changed. They just ran into a couple of tough teams, and that's gonna happen. Unfortunately, this is how it works here in Snow Prep.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say that this is it, that they can't beat good teams, like there's no argument that we really have outside of a win early on in the season against Bay Area that can tell you otherwise. They beat reigning Trays, but this is still a really good team, and I think Kevon Jackson has a down night. That is notable. That it's kind of the proof of this. If your star player doesn't play well, then you're going to have some issues. But so long as and they've got 2 big games coming up here in the near future.
Hmm.
One of them against Showtime, and then further along the line against Heartland Zombie Stars. If they continue to struggle, all right, let's revisit this conversation. For now, though, I don't think there's any reason to be of panic just yet.
Yeah, definitely agree 100% there. Let's get on to another team where there's a lot of questions around them. We got the ATLiens taking on the Best Coast Ballers last night as well, and that game did not go in the ATLiens' favor. And this is one where, like I said, questions coming in, but here you see Royce Anderson trying to work on his defender and does get by him and throws it down. And some Bevison Patches action here for you folks. Love the name and you love the effort here as well to finish there on the inside. And here's Ali Cortez with the step back 3-pointer. He led the way, scoring for them as Best Coast gets the win over the ATLiens 82-67. This was a good showing for them. I misspoke. Willard Krause actually led the way for West Coast, 20 points in that one. But ATLiens, lot wrong with this team, you think, Marsh?
Yeah, I think it's time to strike them out, if you will. I think I'm okay with writing off ATL, and here's why. Suno Chapa goes 4 of I think 18 in this game, and that's not to discredit
Yep,
the depth of
4 of
this
18.
Best Coast roster, but he goes 4 of 18, scores 12 points, and ATLiens still loses by 15. You get an efficient night from ATLiens top player Royce Anderson, and you still lose by 15. The depth isn't there. The defense clearly isn't there. They are not taking advantage of bad nights from other big players from the opposite side. If you can't do those things and your star is as hot and cold as Katy Perry is, then how can I believe in you when it comes race to one time? That is the one time of the season where you need to string together 5 great games. And through 11, ATLiens hasn't done that. And so for me, I still have high hopes for Royce Anderson. I think he's got a skill set that can be a good basketball player, but he is not showing right now the ability that we saw in that Cascadia Originators game where guys like Cooper Flagg, Tyshawn McGrady, Kevon Jackson, all of them are stepping up when they need to. And that's just not happening. I think some of that blame needs to fall on the coaching staff, but at the same time, I think that roster just isn't quite as talented as maybe some people hoped or we thought they would be.
Yeah, it's not as well constructed around Royce. I don't think. I think that's also part of the problem too. One guy, as I keep saying, can't do it by himself. Royce can have all the talent he wants to in the world, but he can't score 82 points by himself. Other kids got to go out there and they got to compete as well. Well, thank you, Marsh, for joining me this morning on SimWorld today. I appreciate you as always. And since you are one of the guests here on the show, why don't you do the outro honors? I appreciate it, man. Take it away.
All right. Well, look, you got day off on Thursday, so we've got some hoops here coming up Friday. Triple header, SimWorld TV triple header to close out the week. So 7, 8, 9, tune in, and then of course you're gonna be on one more day on Friday. So make sure you're staying locked, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications here on YouTube, and as always, see the game, be the game.
We'll see.